Hey guys, welcome. It's Wes, and this video is a really fun and interesting one. I just got done doing the painting that we're going to see a time lapse of. I'm pretty happy with it. What this video is going to cover is just my thoughts on shaking things up, kind of getting yourself not necessarily out of a rut, but if you're anything like me, if your art starts to feel like, okay, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. And then you start seeing that your art feels kind of samey. Sometimes it's fun to shake things up. Now, it doesn't need to be a completely drastic shift, but it can just be 1 or 2 subtle changes in your workflow to get different vibes and experiences with your work, which is going to show through in the final product. The painting that I did, I'm really pleased with how it turned out because what I did is I used a limited palette in a brand new way, and really excited about what that is. But anyways, let's start the time lapse. Let's look at the painting and let's talk about shaking things up to maybe put some new life and spark some new life and creative ideas into your stuff. Let's go. All right, so we're here. And we're going for it. So I'm using a brand new method of doing a limited color palette. Now, I am going to do a future video on how I'm doing this. Basically, if you look at the upper right-hand side to where it says swatches, I made, through a very easy and repeatable method, made a nice color swatch and tried to the best of my ability, put it in order of value. So some of them are off, but it's kind of fine. Really, all I need is something to go between highlights, midtones, and shadows. And what's nice about this is one of my biggest struggles and pet peeves is color. Now, I'm learning more and more about color, and I have an okay logical understanding of how it works. It's just whenever I go to paint, everything kind of looks the same blue, gray-ish, like deeper blue type stuff. So what I'm actually trying to do now, and it's going to be something I'm going to really experiment with over the next probably few months for my personal work, is using color palettes like tons of reds, or here it's more of a subdued muddy brown. And browns are tricky because I just can't, I feel like I can never get a good handle on them. So basically what I did here is I just locked in my color palette, and instead of doing a value sketch, I'm using these colors to do my value sketch, if that makes sense. So I'm working in color, but all I'm really concerned about is picking my midtones, my highlights, my shadows, or my darks, you know, for your foreground, your midground, and your background. Usually it's a pretty safe bet if your, background is light, your foreground is going to be dark, and vice versa. If your background is dark, your foreground is going to be in the light. So with this one, we're doing the standard lighter background, and it was kind of freeing, because it felt like no matter what I picked, it worked. So as long as I was within the lights or the midtones, I could kind of play around. And yeah, the colors are quote-unquote muddy, but the values are right. So my goal was to make something easy to read and fun to work on, completely not thinking about color anymore. Just picking these from my swatch palette. And the method I'm going to go over about, getting the swatch palette can work on anything that can, this one's a .aco file, I guess. So that's a Photoshop swatch file or Adobe color something. Basically it's a lookup table, but only for specific colors. And I've made 4 or 5 of them. There's one of them that I made is just yellows, which, I'm scared. But really, it's going to put my theory to the test of, okay, how important is color? I think not very. I think value is where it's at. But working with yellows is a bear. And they're going to be kind of the muddy, almost sickly yellows, and then highlights the bright canary yellow type stuff. We'll get there. But I want to just see if I can overcome that fear of choosing the quote-unquote right color. I need to get it out of my mind. I just need to worry about a color palette, and I need to worry about sticking to it. And as long as I'm following the rule and the logic of value and shape and form and all that stuff, the rest should hopefully take care of itself. My football coach back in high school would always say, hey, if you do the fundamentals, the score will take care of itself. And it's always a thing that I kind of think back on. It's like, okay, maybe I should just get out of my own head. And doing the limited palette is a way to do it. Now, it's funny, this only took an hour. And, you know, it's one of those, the reason why it took an hour is I wasn't really clear on what I wanted to do. I wanted to do another, like, assassin-y type thing and make him on a horseback. But I wanted him to be the main focus. And at first here you see I have a lot of, like, stuff in the background. I actually used a reference photo from a Game of Thrones episode. To kind of set the compositional mood, but then I didn't want to really adhere to it all that much. I didn't care about colors. I didn't care about all that stuff. I just wanted the shapes. But then near the middle back half-ish of this piece, I just got rid of the people in the background. I was like, well, I'm having more fun painting the assassin, so screw everything else. Like, just get rid of it. But overall, it's fun because doing a color palette thing like this is really shaking up my method. Because normally, what my method is kind of working on my values in grayscale, then doing a color overlay to lay in some colors. And I never felt that was quite organic enough. If you've been following the channel for a while, and if you have, thank you very much. We passed 1,000 watched hours. That's crazy. I'm blown away. So thank you for that. But what I would always run into is it never looked organic. If you know me and you know the channel, I like to mimic the way I would want to work on a canvas, like with real paint and stuff. And with real paint, it's nice because you can limit your palette just by limiting what colors you pick to use on your palette. I know it sounds kind of dumb, but you can just be like, oh, I want reds. So you grab the reds and maybe a black and a white or whatever, and then you're done. That's your palette. I wanted to mimic that sort of thing here. And by doing this method and just picking, you'll notice I don't touch the color wheel. I don't touch brightness, contrast, value, hue, saturation, none of that stuff. I only work with what I have. Now later on to finish, I do up the vibrance. I do a brightness contrast layer to just kind of bring out a little more darks and a little more lights, just to make it really, this is the thumbnail for the episode. So I want to make it a good thumbnail for YouTube. Now, if it was a painting, I'd probably keep it more subdued, just because I like that sort of muddy, rich, just a lot of interest in, you know, how the colors are kind of singing. And I wanted a way, I felt like I needed a way to get that every time. Because the more I can do this and the more I can work with a limited palette, I think the more comfortable I'm going to get with color. I'll be able to add more colors to my swatches and then not worry about that so much. Kind of get that out of my head to where I can just make really nice, vivid, rich pictures without worrying about saturation or without picking the quote-unquote right colors. And I think shaking things up is a powerful thing to do because you get out of your comfort zone, but by doing that, you make a new comfort zone. Your comfort zone grows. It's like this sphere. It's the radius, you know, of your person and your artistic mind. It's going to get wider and wider as you start introducing more techniques. And you can see, it's funny, this technique, it's a new one, but it feels like it actually is less risky. It's less, I don't know. Like I said, it's like you have every, what if every answer you put down on a test was the correct answer? Didn't matter what you put down, it was right. That's what this feels like. And I can kind of get out of that mindset. And I just get really excited about things like that because I'm like, oh, maybe now I can focus on cooler things like rendering. I need to improve on rendering. So let me get the other stuff out of the way. What if colors were taken care of every time? So it's really that mental, to give myself a little bit of stability and kind of the ease, get the anxiousness, get the nervousness out of it. Because it's easy around, I don't know, the midpoint, well, really going from value, a black and white, to color, I get really antsy and iffy because I don't know if I'm doing it right. Because it feels unnatural. It doesn't feel like I came to those conclusions. It's more work, I guess. It feels... Yeah, it feels like a lot of work because you have to match the brightness. And that's a thing that really throws me off on color. So I think if I'm tying the brightness to the color itself, as a value, and the color equals the value, I think that solves that problem. If not fully solves it, it gets pretty close. We're headed in the right direction. And these aren't going to be, some people may not like the piece that you do because they don't like the colors you chose. And that's fine. Like, I'm actually, ironically enough, pretty proud of this painting. It only took an hour, but I feel like it's more interesting than some of my other stuff has been lately. And I think that's another thing I want to work on is interest. How visually appealing is the image? Do you want to continue looking at it? Now, that's why it's risky to work with browns. I can think of no more boring color than brown and gray and black and dark blue and like that type of stuff. But if I can go ahead and use that and learn how to, warp it and like make it work, then I think I'm going to level up way faster. We talked about speeding up on a few videos ago. We talked about, what was it called? Going further faster. And I think this is another way for me to do that. It's, get the part that scares me out of my mind. And yeah, I think just smartening up and sort of shaking things up, and it's not really fully changing how you do things, but it's one slight tweak. Just one tweak. Maybe if you've worked in color, just straight to color, maybe try working in black and white and putting color over it and see how that helps, or what does your mind do? You're going to feel out of your element, but you got this. You're used to painting. You're used to doing this. Or you're learning how, and you're trying to figure everything out all at once, and that can be very daunting. So simplifying certain steps can be awesome. To learn color and to learn mood and all that stuff, find a stock photo, bring it into Photoshop, put it on black and white, like make it just a black and white version of it, then use color overlay as a layer on top, and color it 4 different ways. Just to see. You don't even need to paint anything, really. You don't need to create something. So you're getting the whole, I can't create an image. My form's wrong, my anatomy's off. Who cares? Like, if you want to study color, just study color. And I think that can go a lot further, because whenever you're laser focused on 1 or 2 main things, instead of, now I got a sketch, and is the sketch right? Is the proportion on? Is my anatomy correct? And what's the composition? Is the rule of thirds good? The value, or the values, or the colors matching the value, and is it more saturated in the shadows? And there's so many things, and it makes your brain just scramble. But if you get out of your own way, and if you set up your workplace to where you can't fail, I think that's a great way to go. And I'm getting more confident in my work now that I'm able to realize what I want to work on. And simplifying and shaking things up is a great way to do that. I know this is we're kind of talking in circles at this point, but I don't know, there's something to it. And I'd like to hear your comment about it. Is there a new technique that you've done, like a gradient map? Or, to put in a quick background, I used a radial gradient and just put my colors and then put my colors from there. Or, I made a sphere and colored the sphere, and then I just picked colors from that. Like, there's so many different methods to do this technique, but I'm excited that I found this one, and I can't wait to kind of go into more of a tutorial aspect and kind of share it and why it works or why I feel it works. I just want to make more interesting images, and I think having rich color interactions might do that. So that's overall the goal, is to make more interesting visual art. And it doesn't have to be loud, it doesn't have to be bombastic, but maybe using this method, I could make loud bombastic art. I could get really rich blues and reds and yellows and put them in, and as long as I'm following that rule of value and brightness, maybe it works. Who knows? Like, this is a great way to try that. And yeah, man, just shaking things up, it gets me excited again. Like, I want to do another painting right now. But let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, this one may have been a little rambly, but hopefully there was a little nugget of wisdom somewhere within the nonsense. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested to know if there's techniques or methods that you stumbled across that was like a game changer. It kind of opened your eyes and you're like, oh, why didn't I do this years ago? Because I do think now I'm going to get further faster. I think shaking things up is the way to go. But that's my time. Yeah, let me know what you think. I will talk to you guys very, very soon. We're going to do some more tutorial stuff soon, and maybe this color method. Who knows? But yeah, thank you so much for the support on YouTube. We're over 1,200 followers, which is amazing. We're over 1,000 watch hours, which is mind-blowing to me. But we're on that road to 4,000 watch hours. Can we do it? Hopefully, it's just because of thanks to you all that we're even able to have that sort of crazy dream. But until next time, guys, take care, stay safe, go get that COVID vaccine if you're able to. Please, please, please. I need to schedule mine. But yeah, take care, and we'll see you next time. Peace.